No, I'm just a little cookie that keeps coming out of hooks. Okay, everybody. One more minute, we'll get started. Come on in, find a place to sit. Plenty of seats over on, what is this, Amy? Stage right? Yes. Oh my gosh, look, humans together. Yay. And hi, everybody on the Zoom. Great to see you there. But it's cool after, and again, we started counting these, right? So we first had one of these, I think it was April of 2020. And here we are 2 years later, town hall number 24, the first of these since COVID to be in person, at least with an in-person option and hybrid. That's exciting. Of course, what it means is I can't cheat and look at my notes, and so you're going to get what you get with me up here. But well, I'm especially excited to be with all of you today, since this will be my last town hall with WBI. So I know, yeah, we have a lot to talk about, a lot of updates to give, and so I'm just going to jump in and go through those so that we can have more time together at the end. And we'll still take Q&A online. We've got some folks standing by to answer questions in the webinar and the Q&A, right, Kyle? The same approach as always for that. And for the rest of you, you can just pull out your typewriter and type it on a piece of paper. And no? Okay. We have microphones in the room, so you can actually ask your own question if you want at the end. So excited for that. And so, yeah, let's jump in, and let's jump in and sort of end as we began with always keeping this front and center. And, we're really these, we've always done town hall meetings, usually 2 a year, and just talking about lots of great things going on, but they became really essential during COVID, right? They became a really essential way of sharing information and hearing what people were concerned about, and trying to make sure everybody got enough insight and transparency into what we were doing and why we were doing it. And I think this North Star has always spoken to me as, again, as just something that we always want to keep in front of us about keeping us safe and healthy. And that has taken on a whole new connotation this year. We'll talk some about updates on mental health. That's probably the single biggest topic I want to talk to you about today. Serving our students, they remain always front and center for us, and supporting all of you in doing that. And I know that's been especially tough just as these 2 years have dragged on. I'm really excited that 3 weeks from today is the last day of classes for the year. So it's almost summer. Hang on, hang in. And we'll talk some about summer and summer hours and such as well. Keep our family together, which we've really been able to do, and treating each other with care and respect. I think that one is something we can share even beyond the borders of WPI, has become more and more of a challenge, right? Everybody is on edge. Our lack of connection to each other as human beings has made it easier to treat one another poorly, I think. And this community has always really prided itself on being respectful to each other as much as we can, at least most of us are. And so I appreciate that. But to me, it's one of the most important reasons to get people back together in person, is so that you can look people in the eye. And we can always disagree, but to share differences of opinion with great respect and care is something that I hope we can carry forward. And then the broader community continuing to serve that. You'll see some pictures in a second of that. I threw these slides about the strategic plan up front. I'm not really going to talk much about the strategic plan, but I did this for 2 reasons. One, this is our other North Star, right? Our mission, our values. And I think as we transition out of the COVID era and into the future, this really becomes that North Star encapsulated. What are we trying to do? Why do we exist? To transform lives, to turn knowledge into action, to address global challenges, and to revolutionize STEM through what is distinctive and wonderful about WPI, which is inclusive education projects and research. So that's really a mission statement, should be that North Star. And then the values too, of just keeping those front and center. So as you look forward, I hope folks will carry this forward with them as our new North Star. You know that the plan has 3 goals. You're probably tired of seeing these slides at this point, but well-being, access, and affordability, purpose-driven education and research, and our inclusive community. And so this is the framework for our plan. We have implementation teams that have been working all year on topics underneath these 3 goals. And you're going to get to hear from them right after this meeting out in the ODAM lobby here. You'll see different posters from the different implementation teams. So I want to make sure that you stick around after this session, go out. We have a refreshment or two, right? We're gonna have a little bit of munchie and talk to the folks that have been leading this. And recall, we asked for volunteers from across the organization. We've got people who aren't the usual suspects always being involved in these teams. And please talk with them about their progress, share your input on their thinking about their go forward goals for next year, and get involved in implementing Lead with Purpose. And as I transition from WPI, one of the things that's really comes through strongly in the listening sessions that have taken place through the search process, in conversations with the board, with the leadership, with the community, is, you know, we built a strategic plan and we believe in it. We believe in this direction. And although there could be a new president who comes in and wants to put their own spin on it a little bit, these are the directions that we think are really important. And so I really hope this plan will serve as a framework for the institution to continue to move forward. So please engage outside. I know Rachel LeBlanc, is she here? There she is. She's going to wave y'all out there at the end of the session. So please do engage with us on that. Now, delightful, dazzling, delicious, fabulous, D term. Darn it, I ran out of D words there. Right now, I think as we're coming out of this difficult time with COVID, of the incredible challenges with student mental health and all of our mental health as well, we really were working to make D term a term of reconnection, a term of community building. And, you know, this week, Arts and Sciences Week, is Jean here? She's probably off at an Arts and Sciences Week event. We're building community all over the campus. And these are just a few examples of community building. And look, we have a lot of work to do on sort of our structures and the skills that we all need to build and all of that. And that's coming in lots of word slides after this. But I just want you to focus for a second on all the things that all of you have made possible, all of our students have made possible through D term to help rebuild community. And I really hope we can carry that spirit forward as we move into fall of next year. Everybody needs a bit of a break over the summer, and I get that. But as we come back into fall, just again, really keeping this community front and center is going to be essential as we rebuild connections and relationships. So whether that's working with local organization, this was at IQP, I think, here in Worcester on food insecurity, fabulous new sorority on campus. And I wrote down the Greek letters so I wouldn't forget them. And then I left the piece of paper in my office. And this is why, tell me, Zeta Beta Phi. Thank you. Zeta Phi Beta. Thank you, Deborah. Right on. So close. Yes. Incredible launch, first new sorority to launch at WPI since I've been here, which is thrilling, and great sorority. Now on campus, the lower picture is from our wonderful talent show, Goats Got Talent. This young man in the blue shirt in the center who won one of the awards had never performed before a live audience before. Unbelievable, like the talent in that community. And you just notice one little guy sort of standing off here to the side who did a spectacular job playing the piano as part of the talent competition. Incredible, incredible. So anyway, students, faculty, staff, collaborating, working together, as Jean would say, coming together in unity. That's what we want to see. And new things starting, old friends reconnecting. That's the kind of community building we all want to see going forward. So I hope you're all finding it a dazzling D term, and you're like, yeah, I'll find it a dazzling when it's over. But we will get there 3 weeks from today, last day of classes. So I want to, so that's sort of the community building part, which again, to me, it's job one as we deal with mental health challenges on this campus. So much of it is about lack of connection. And there's a whole bunch of other things happening. And so I want to thank Philip Clay, Ron Bashista, all of the leads of the different teams as part of the mental health implementation team, building upon the extraordinary work of the task force as well as inputs from other groups. We took all of their inputs about the things to do, and you'll see here in a second that we have gotten additional inputs since we last spoke that we're also incorporating into that work. And we've got, again, this sort of CERT-like response, right? CERT, very organized, met with a really strong cadence, was very action oriented, was all about getting things done. And that's what the mental health implementation team has now taken up. So the MHIT, as we're calling it, it's met weekly since the first week of March. So it's up and going at a fast cadence. I'm going to show you an org chart in a second, but the teams, it's made up of several, what the Colonel calls sections. Each of those teams includes, or the teams across the board include faculty, staff, undergraduate and graduate students. We have different topical things, as you'll see in a second, but we also have two people serving as critical liaisons. One is Rachel, who's a liaison to the strategic plan, which again, that student well-being is literally the first thing and the first goal of the plan, right? So this very strongly ties into the strategic plan work. Also, there's a parents group that's very, very engaged and very interested in understanding what we're doing. And so we've got Stephanie Pasha, who I saw earlier. Raise your hand, Stephanie, thank you, who is serving as the liaison to this WPI Strong Parent Group. So again, we did get a second round of inputs from the task force since we were all last together at a town hall. So one was about sort of revisiting underrepresented populations on the campus, make sure they had a strong voice. So those recommendations are folded into the structure I'm about to show you. The second bigger piece was about faculty and staff well-being, which is all of us, right? And there was a lot there. And so we're going through that kind of methodically, prioritizing it. And frankly, we'd like to do a little bit broader engagement with faculty and staff about those items. And so you're going to see some staff forums that we're going to announce later in this presentation, where we're going to do a little more engagement around those so that we make sure we focus appropriately on those things that are going to make the biggest difference soonest. And so again, stay tuned on that, and we'll engage all of you in that conversation. So all of these things are headed out, but so here's sort of the structure and how it works. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but you can see the different liaisons up front there. And then along the bottom are the different sections. So student life, academics, programs, training, and services, which there's Paula Fitzpatrick. I saw Paula. Paula, raise your hand. There's Paula, our new director of the Center for Wellbeing. So yes, welcome. We welcomed her technically at the last town hall, but we're happy to have her here with us in person. We just saw plans this morning for building out the center in the Morgan Daniels Wedge, and that's going to be a thrilling, wonderful place to be. So again, a lot of that's around getting that center up and going. First year experience, we're really looking at redesigning many aspects of the first year experience from the ground up. Communications, making sure you all are aware of what's happening, and there have been regular updates. And then finally, we've just added the staff and faculty section, which is again taking the inputs from the task force, going to work them through a couple of these engagements with the staff forums, and then get that going. But again, they're already working on pieces of it, and we're looking for a faculty rep there. Actually, I don't know what the status of that is, but I'm sure we'll have that shortly. So that's the structure. I'm going to walk you through a few things. There's a lot of words on these slides. I apologize, but I wanted to honor the team, the work of the team here, and just share with you a few things. And really, it should be Philip probably presenting this, but yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So first is the academic calendar change. We really like this idea of folding well-being days into each term, not just some terms. So they've gone through and they went through, and any of you that have ever worked on the academic calendar know what a thrilling exercise it is. They've gone through something like 20 different generations of it. And we've settled on one for next year that makes sure that we have at least 2 break days each term. It's either a holiday or a well-being day. And so that means A term will start one day earlier and D term will end one day later, but there's more breaks built into the middle. So that's really good. So that's going to be posted, I think, today. So keep your eyes open for that. And I think Art Hemricker will send out a note about that. And again, we've had those Be Well Together days or the wellness days, and that we've done 2 of. The Center for Wellbeing will take those on in the future. And then they're going to they might look at some more dramatic changes to academic calendar. That's being discussed actively within MHIT, but we needed to settle next year. So they did that. Now they buy themselves some time to look beyond that. Faculty flexibility. This is something we hear from students a lot about, the need for faculty flexibility. there's a lot of misunderstandings about what it is and what it isn't, and what's good flexibility and what's not so good flexibility. This is a great conversation for our faculty colleagues to be in. So they're really working hard to think about and define what it means to be flexible from both a faculty perspective and a student perspective. And again, both well-being sets of well-being, faculty and students, are impacted by this. We know there are certain courses that are that probably exceed reasonable workloads. There are also, within every course, there are certain students who are probably spending more time working in that course than they should. And so we're trying to sort of peel the onion on sort of work overload and figure out where is that most prevalent within, if there are courses that are sort of repeat offenders, and if there are students who are struggling with the courses they have, is there a way for us to find that out early and work to address it? So again, they're doing a lot of deep thinking about that. One of the ways that faculty are providing flexibility is on tests, is on exams. And so we have a lot more students than usual needing to do sort of makeup exams. And we have the exam proctoring center in now in Unity Hall, but that's got a specific use. We're working to pilot a new testing center where we can just have a place for any students to do makeup exams. So that's something specific they're piloting. Working on academic advising, that was something we heard out of the task force at the department level, trying to find real exemplars, great academic advisors, and how can they be mentors to others to help make academic advising awesome across the campus. So that's going on. Here's a big one. These are really very student-centered things. Financial aid policies. One of the biggest stressors on students is if they're worried that if they don't, we always say, oh, well, you can enter our classes and it's no big deal. Well, that's true to a point, but at a point, you fall out of good academic standing, and it impacts your financial aid. And there are a lot of students for whom that's an enormous stressor. And so we had some different definitions of satisfactory academic progress across the campus, and difference between us and the federal definition. And there's a whole big thing there. But in any case, we've made this better for students. We've reduced the what's required to be considered to be making satisfactory academic progress from 30 credits to 24. We will now not review your financial aid in the middle of a year. We had students who would lose aid after the end of B term before the beginning of C term. Can you imagine the stress that must have caused? And so we will now do that once a year, again, fully compliant with federal regs, and we will only impact merit aid. So this right here, again, we have a student group that the MHIT is working very closely with. They're over the moon about this. I will tell you, it's gonna not cost because we already are giving this aid, but there was aid coming back to the institution that now will be continued to be given out as aid, probably to the tune of $1 million a year. But as we talk about accessibility, affordability, right, this is a part of that. And it's just going to be a huge, I hope, opportunity for students to just not quite be so stressed about losing their aid, and their families not be stressed. So that's great. And I was joking this morning that, we're so bad at stopping doing things at WPI. I don't know if any of you have noticed that. Have any of you noticed that? We stopped something with this, right? We're only going to review it once a year. I'm looking at Jess. So there you go. We stopped doing it twice a year. We're only going to review once a year. So that's good. Redefining student success. So much of the stress, and I hear this, I had student office hours yesterday. I hear from students like, well, I'm thinking about double majoring. I'm thinking about, and they hear it from each other, because I know that academic advising is not telling them to double major. I know that departments are not saying, well, you really better or whatever. We have to work with the students on the culture they want to build and who they want to be, and how we can sort of stop the one-upmanship about, and again, it's not in a bad competitive way. It's because they're achievement oriented, which is great. But achievement at the expense of mental health, at the expense of sleep, at the expense of taking care of oneself, at the expense of pursuing a different kind of non-academic passion, perhaps, that's where we need to work on balance. And so we're looking at things like when students are applying to special programs or for awards, are we unintentionally encouraging this overdoing it, right? So what are the things we can control to help set that culture of reasonable expectation, of focus on self-care and wellness? So I'm really excited to hear that we're really doing that's a systemic look. That's a holistic look, right? So CASEL, which is a faculty governance committee, the Committee on Student Life, or committee on, is it academics and student life? Advising and student life, sorry. After 8 years, you'd think I'd know all the acronyms. Developing, looking at successful student schedules, trying to, again, model, hey, here's what a reasonable schedule looks like. If you're too far off from this, you might want to ask yourself a question or two. And again, we're looking at tools we can add into the Insight program to help students really build that agency, that self-reliance, that how they can see their own strengths and what they really bring to the table through a technique called asset mapping. So all these things are really exciting changes. Other things around campus life, housing is a stressor. We're not going to totally meet that desire for on-campus housing, but we are looking at expansions at South Village, which is former Becker housing. We're going to be doing more with them next year. We also have a student center down there, which is going to be a great sort of social relaxation space for students down at South Village. Looking at tagging affinity spaces on the campus for certain student groups. Lots and lots of student clubs are really looking for either dedicated or shared spaces. I think this is a big one that we've got to just get our heads around. Again, Mario mentioned the Center for Wellbeing. We're reconceptualizing new student orientation. They've basically broken it down to its component parts and are asking for each one, yes or no, or stay or go, or update. How do we want to rethink this? And how can we maybe not cram it all in those first few days, but extend it over more of the first year? So to make the whole first year an onboarding year, and even back before they come in August, right? Starting earlier in the summer. Again, that WPI Advocates is that student group that I mentioned. That's a group of students who are partnering really well with us, who are, again, tracking what's happening in the MHIT, giving their input. A lot of them are participating in various teams there. And then the last one is a tough one. And I wanted to just be very upfront and mention it here. We've had a certain approach and a protocol in the event that we lose a student, and thank goodness that hasn't happened since very early this year. But sort of each time, honestly, sort of sending out a blast email, and it just, by the end, it was not feeling like that we are serving our community well. I know everybody wants to be in the know and everybody wants all the information. And I know, me, I'm so about transparency that I put glass walls on my office, and that was purposeful, right? Like it is a core value for me. And I worry about, is that serving our students well? At this point, is it serving our community well? And so we've got some input from Riverside Trauma, who are wonderful folks that have been working closely with us and have done a whole sort of review of our protocols. And, they're had some suggestions for us. We're doing some consultation with peer institutions. And I think it's pretty likely we're going to change those protocols, actually. Really what we want to do is focus on the students and faculty and staff who are closest to a person who's been lost, so that we can focus our resources on them, those most directly impacted, and minimize any possibility of for lack of a better word, contagion. So this is a hard one. It's a hard one to talk about, but I wanted to be really upfront with you all that we're thinking about it. And, again, this is something that's going to carry on even after I go, but I think it's important. And I think we have to be willing to ask ourselves hard questions. No, never in the history of ever at WPI have we dealt with what we've had to deal with this year, and it's going to cause some changes in how we do things. And I think that's a positive thing for the institution. But so stay tuned for more on this. We'll continue to communicate with you about the protocols. But, I would say expect some changes. So a few other additional things here. Training, they're piloting and evaluating all kinds of new programs, which is exciting. This QPR, question, persuade, refer, very sort of simple protocol around suicide prevention. A few other things here. We're looking at expanding wellness offerings to all employees, not just those that have our insurance. What a concept. That's exciting. And again, I mentioned already that bottom bullet, that the additional task force recommendations about employees are going to be added to MHIT after they're discussed in the staff forums. So that was it about mental health and well-being. It's a lot, right? There's a lot of words on those slides, so sorry about that. But I just wanted you to get a sense that we're kind of taking the institution and turning it all every which way and examining it based on the great input from the task force and others. And we're taking some actions here, in addition, and I didn't, again, recount for you, the counselors we've hired and the reorgs we've done and the additional advisors and all of the things we're doing. but we're doing a lot more than that too. And that's going to continue right through the summer. So again, special thanks. And again, I'd appreciate a little round of applause for everybody serving on MHIT. That's really hard work. You can imagine that's really difficult stuff, right? Every single week, as hard as coronavirus was, this is harder, but we still are dealing with a little bit of COVID. I don't have a bunch of updates for you here. As you know, we've stood down CERT. We do have a very small, nimble team who's continuing to communicate regularly. We call them the coronavirus monitoring group. I'm going to have everybody who's served on some part of CERT is going to invite it to my house tomorrow to come and have a little celebration for CERT because they really deserve it. They did incredible work over the last 2 years. Here's where we are with protocols. I think you all know this. Masking is optional indoors, but encouraged if you wish. Certainly, anyone is free to ask others to mask. Routine testing once a week. We were toying with going to optional testing. A lot of universities have gone to optional testing at this point, but anybody who's looking at our dashboard knows that we've seen a little uptick in cases. Mostly that is coming from off-campus weekend activity of students. Not surprising. Nobody's getting particularly ill. It's just is what it is. So we decided though, given that that's happening, that we're still seeing some cases around the campus, we think just for the rest of the academic year, let's keep the once a week requirement in place and have everybody do that. After that, I think the team is talking about what to do next. First of all, frankly, we don't exactly know what the Broad's going to do next year. But now we have such a great supply of rapid tests. They're very effective. So my guess is we'll move to more of a rapid testing protocol for people who are symptomatic, or if you're just nervous about it before you go to an event or whatever. Hopefully we'll have those available so folks can be rapid tested as they need. And we were getting a lot of questions about booster requirements and vaccine requirements for incoming students. We did put that in place for next year. So every first year student, undergrad, grad will need to be vaccinated and boosted before they come to campus. So we will be checking that for the fall. And then, again, as we get into the summer and fall, we'll be communicating with you more about what's happening there. So that was really it for COVID. Just a few other things going on. Class of 2026. Can you believe it? Woo, woo, woo. 2026. How old are we? I mean, really? Yeah, we're very old. So they're on their way. The deposit deadline's May 1. So that's, again, about 3 weeks from now. So this is crunch time. We're at as of this morning, about 550 deposits against a goal of 1,350. So again, we're coming down. We're bringing the size of the class down compared to last year. And we are going to work really hard not to overshoot. We have set up the whole thing to try to help not overshoot. So that's the goal. Great looking class, again, wonderful. And so this is the time you're going to see tons and tons of visit days and, people touring and anything you can do to help encourage those students. If a student takes the time to come to campus, they're much more likely to deposit with us. They're much more likely to come. So those are the people. You want to be nice to someone, be nice to them. That's a good time of year to do that. So thank you for everybody, all the departments, everybody that works so hard to help us bring in that class, which is incredibly important. Faculty ombuds. So we have ombuds on this campus. We have a staff ombuds and a faculty ombuds. It doesn't mean they're only an ombuds for faculty issues, but we have one faculty member and one staff member who serve as ombuds for the institution. It's a really important role. And the person who was doing it is no longer doing it. And so we have application open for faculty ombuds. So if you're a faculty member, you're interested in serving in that role, we sent an email out about it, right, Kyle? In WPI Today, you can go find the announcement about that. And if you have questions, you could just shoot Kyle Siegel an email. I'm sure she'd be happy to talk to you about it. Okay, performance management. I know we're excited about that. So T&I is working on our process, doing some streamlining and things on the process for this year. That will come out later in April, so stay tuned and watch for that. I don't have a salary pool to share with you yet. We got to get the board to approve that in May. But we understand that, inflation is real and we're working really hard. We are not infinitely rich, as you know, but we are working really hard to have a larger salary pool than usual. And so we will share that with you as soon as we have that approved by the board. But we're working on it. And again, fingers crossed that we can do something reasonable. Summer hours, it's almost summer again, 3 weeks from today. So starting actually summer hours and summer sort of summer work will be May 23rd through August 19th. So we're going to add an extra holiday. So right now, July 1 is not a holiday. It is now. So we will be closed on July 1st. So you're welcome. And yeah, you can clap. Woo! Have a great 4th of July weekend. So this thing we did last summer, I will not promise you that we will do this every summer, but we are going to do it again this summer, which is everybody gets a 4-hour flex block each week to take a bit of extra time in addition to summer hours. So closing a little earlier, everybody can have that 4-hour flex block. But I just want to emphasize here, I had heard, I have no evidence this was actually true, but that there were some offices where like everybody took it on Friday afternoon and then students were visiting and they couldn't get into an office or it wasn't open. We do need to make sure offices stay open. So guys got to work those in your offices. No meeting Fridays. People seem to like that. I say we try it again. What do you say? Yeah. Okay, good. So summer is coming and it's going to be a good one. And I just really want to encourage everyone, in addition to this flexible time, to take time. I know not everybody, summer is a good time for you, not everybody, but if it is a good time for you, be sure you take some time because it's been 2 really tough years. So good. And then I mentioned these staff forums. So here's, there'll be, that's not next week, that's week after next. So 2 staff forums. We'll put something about those in WPI today as well. But again, come and talk about how it's going with staff. We're working really hard to get the staff council launched. We're going to be trying to do that very soon. But in the meantime, this is a great opportunity for staff to come together and give input on the task force recommendations, on their priorities for next year. So please do plan to attend. Okay, other news. So you all know that Andy Aberdale had to step off the board due to some work activities. Jack Mullins stepped back in as sort of, it wasn't officially interim, but as chair to fill the gap. But just on Friday at their meeting, the board elected Bill Fitzgerald as the new chairman. And he started that appointment immediately because the board feels that it's important with the transition in the presidency to go ahead and have the new chair already in place. And so Bill has already started as chair. So many of you know him. He's class of 83. He was just recently retired from General Electric, where he was head of commercial aircraft engines. So it's great timing for him to step in as chair, having just retired from working full time. Although I think he and his wife would both say that he's flunking retirement. Just a great human being, married to an engineer. She's from Carnegie Mellon, but we won't hold that against her. She's been super active in WIN, in the Women's Impact Network. They're just a great WPI family. So next time you see Bill, yeah, that's a good one. You can congratulate him. And the board is shaping up really well. We actually have a lot of board members rotating off over the next couple of years. So we're adding a lot of new board members. So that's going to be exciting. There's going to be a lot of great new energy on the board, which I think is going to be wonderful as well. And it's, again, important to have a great board chair in as you're looking for a new president. One of the most important things I can tell you from experience coming into one of these jobs is who's the chair of the board, like who's my boss, and what's that relationship going to be like? And again, all very important reasons to have Bill in there now as the board chair, as the search is spinning up. Now, I'm not remotely qualified to update you on this, but I'm going to do it really quickly. Lauren Turner and David LaPrey, who's chairing the search committee, have been doing an amazing job engaging the community. Just to let you know some of the things that have been happening. Over 500 participants in various engagement sessions, survey, parents, alumni, faculty, staff, students, just incredible inputs and very aligned inputs too, which as I've read the summaries, I haven't been to any of them, but it's just been great energy. You saw last week, they named the search committee. I'm going to show you who that is in a second in case you didn't have a chance to look at it. Their first priority, they've met twice already. The committee has met twice already. Their first priority is to develop using the inputs from the engagement sessions, using the voices that all of you lent to this process to develop the position spec. And they have retained a search partner, Whitkeefer. Whitkeefer, it's actually the same team that just completed successfully the RPI search, where they have a new president, Marty Schmidt, who is the provost at MIT and now is going to be the president of RPI. Was a good, very good outcome for them, and you know, a lot of really good recommendations for Whitkeefer here. The schedule for all this. So the way this works is you put the committee together, you work on the spec, and then especially through the search consultants, they're out there sort of turning over all the rocks and getting lots of nominations and inputs. Be thinking, by the way, if you know someone who'd be great for this role, you will have the chance to suggest those people. You can either send a note now to Lauren Turner, or there'll be an email address for people to submit nominations. You have to be in the market for maybe 10 weeks, 3 months, right? Like out kind of gathering resumes and talking to people and getting interest. So that's mostly going to start in May. That's a good time to be starting that through the first 2/3 of the summer. And then as we get into the fall, we'll be starting the interview processes. And hopefully, again, we'll have an appointment made by around the end of the calendar year, the beginning of next year. So that's going to go quickly now. It's very exciting to see. And then again, the website, you've been getting a lot of communications about this. That's going to continue. It's very important to David Lepre that they're communicating with the community a lot about what's happening, and to be as transparent as they can, understanding that it's not as transparent as every single person would like, but they're sharing a lot about their thinking about the process. So there's that. And just really quickly, it's a great committee. It's a large committee, but we did that on purpose because we wanted to make it really inclusive. A lot of trustees, the trustees take this responsibility incredibly seriously. It's the most important thing they do is to hire and evaluate the president, right? That's actually their main job as a board. So some great trustees there, including 2 past presidents of the Alumni Association. So really have that broad view into WPI alumni. 2 great students, an undergraduate and a graduate student. 6 fabulous faculty members, including a dean and a department head, and then a faculty member from each of our 4 schools, and 3 incredible staff, you know, representing multicultural affairs, student access and affordability, again, really huge, high priority, and fundraising, very important part of the job of the president. So it's great. And I want to thank everybody on this committee for serving. Thank you. A lot of you are in the room. So thank you for doing that. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And this is actually from the website. I'm not going to walk through the whole thing, but you can go and stare at this. This is sort of what David Lepre, he's such an engineer, calls it the operating model. It's the operating model for the search. I think that's funny. So, you know, on the top is all of you, is this community. It's faculty, staff, alumni, friends, partners, again, engaged through lots of different ways and communicated with, not just about what's happening, but why it's happening and when. The search committee, you just saw that they're really at the core of actively managing the search process. Their job is to come up with a slate of names to recommend to the board. They do not pick the president. They don't rank the slate. They come up with several possible candidates to forward to the board for the final decision. And then the other big piece is this advisory groups. And those of you that were here when I was hired, there was an advisory group. It came a little bit late in the process. They're building it in from the beginning here as a way to have even more engagement with the community. So some of you will probably be asked to get involved in this, and those won't get set up until a little bit further down the road, but stay tuned, and it'll be important, and people will be drawn from those as part of the interview process. And again, to give more community exposure to candidates and finalists. And finally, along the bottom, the board, again, this is their main task, is to appoint the new president. Okay, now I'm going to, before I wrap up, I want to hand off to Lauren, who's going to come up and, as is our tradition at the spring town hall meeting, talk about trustee awards for staff. Has everybody met Lauren Turner? Here's Lauren Turner, our new VP of D&I.
Thank you, Lori. Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. I am delighted to be able to be here. And actually, I want to also just acknowledge Heather Mullery, who is a talent strategy partner who has done all the work behind this. So Heather is on the Zoom call. So thank you, Heather. Everyone, thank Heather. So again, as Lori said, this is a really important tradition for WPI, and it allows the trustees, who we have been talking about, the role of the trustees is so important, to recognize the work that's happening here on the ground at WPI. And so this staff award allows the trustees to acknowledge two staff members who really illustrate the passion for WPI that we all feel, that whose performance is just absolutely outstanding, sort of going above and beyond, who role model those values that you saw in our mission and vision, and who inspire those behaviors in others. And so we had, I believe, 29 nominations. So it was an outstanding panel. So that means it was quite competitive. And I am told that the tradition, which I love, is that the winners from last year participate in the selection and review process. And so I am here to award our two trustee awards for staff. I'm fingers crossed that you're in the audience. So first, if I could ask Colleen Callahan Pende. Are you here, Colleen? Do we know if she's online? We're going to check to see if she's online so she can hear me say nice things about her. So Colleen is the director of international. Yay. Okay. So international student life. So everyone ready? 1, 2, 3. Yay, Colleen. Yay, Colleen. Yeah. So Colleen has been here for over 10 years, and you all know that she stewards really the experience that our international students have here at WPI, creating what nominees for her have said, a home away from home. And quite honestly, with some of the international unrest, that is so important. And she does that so well, and with care and with passion. And so with that said, I'm delighted to, if Colleen were here, I would be handing her this very nice award from the trustees. Colleen, congratulations. And our second award winner is Teresa Geddes. So is Teresa here? Okay, you got to come up. You got to come up. Yay. Congratulations. And Teresa, I was thinking about you when Lori was talking about advising and how important it is, the advising that we do for our students. And so what our nominator said about Teresa is that she is the face of advising. So again, you've been here about 10 years, and all of the complimentary remarks about how just caring, how responsive, how helpful, and with a smile, like everything is always, and you know how it is when you go to seek support, that you feel better about it when someone is really appreciative of providing the support. And so that exemplifies Teresa. So congratulations, Teresa. Here you go. Yes, congratulations. All right, awesome. Yes, you can. Oh, no, a speech. I'm only kidding.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Oh my gosh, we're so lucky to have Lauren. Of course, she came in and immediately got thrown into the deep end of the presidential search pool, and she's just been doing absolutely amazing work. And her whole team, yay, T&I, and yay. So again, congrats to our staff award winners. Amazing, amazing. Okay, well, here's the slide that I've been dreading so much that I can't even make myself think about what I want to say. So I'm just going to make it up. So this is the last slide, and I'm gonna close it out here pretty quickly by just expressing how grateful I am to have been a part of this community for 8 years. It's not done. We have like at least another month together, and I look forward. I hope many of you can come. The signs for the intergalactic send-off party, which is going to be a good party, have started to go up on May 3rd, the last day of classes, out under the tent on the quad, the tent will be up by then, and there's going to be beer, right? There's going to be food trucks, beer, dancing, so that's going to be fun. So please do come, and we can say our goodbyes then. But I figured out during the search process when I was hired that this was a really special place. And I honestly that was like 2% of how special it is that I figured out during that time. And the thing that makes it special, first and foremost, is of course our students, and how extraordinary it is not only to sort of see how they put their heart and souls into their education and into the communities they work in, but just the amazing people that they are and they become. But that doesn't just happen. That happens because they are guided in that journey by all of you in this room, by everyone from, faculty members to Chartwell's colleagues, plays roles in the development of our students. And every one of you has a role to play in making amazing impact in the world through the lives of our students. So being a part of that kind of community. And I think people know that, they feel that when they work here, right? That's the kind of work that we get to do every day. Being a part of something like that, it's unforgettable. And I never will forget. I am always going to be a part of this community. I will always have WPI in my heart. And all of the kind words from all of you at various points over these last 2 years when I really needed them have just kept me going and lifted me up. So I will never forget all of you. To the senior team at WPI who's worked so closely with me, I want to thank you especially. You've made this an amazing journey. But crap, I'm going to miss you all. I'm going to really, really, really miss you all. And I love WPI and I love all of you. So thank you for that. And I'm happy to take questions, and let's wrap it there. So thank you. And I'm leaving you in great hands with Wally, who's hiding in the back, but I'm leaving you in great hands with Wally. So excited about that. So does anybody anyone in the room has a question or a comment, they should feel free to come on up. I know you actually have to get up and like say words, say actual words, but otherwise, I don't know, Kyle, if there are questions online. Let's take one in the room and then we'll do one online and we'll go back and forth. I think it might be on. Yeah.
It is on. Hi there, I'm
Hi.
Terry Adams. I have a question, Lori, on the most recent announcement of a booster, which I think might be people 50 and up are eligible for
50 and
that.
up and are
You've
eligible.
been wonderful about giving us guidance when we should go do things. So I'd love your take on that.
Okay, so I'm happy to give my take, and I'm happy to, I don't know if any of our health services colleagues are here to give a take too, but what we could do is probably get a take we should probably do that. It's like get some advice. I'll tell you what I'm hearing. So, there is a little bit of an uptick in COVID right now. It's kind of hard to tell if it's going to get much worse or just kind of burn a little bit more slowly like it is. If you are over 50, especially if you're over 65, or if you're over 50 and have diabetes, other kinds of, pre-existing conditions that make you more at risk, I say go get it. If it's been at least 4 months since your last booster, definitely go get it. If you have recently had COVID, and most of you don't know this, but I recently have had COVID about a month ago, 3 weeks ago, I had COVID. I'm well over it now and I'm fine. It wasn't that fun turns out, but I'm fine. I should wait a couple months to get mine because I've got some good old natural immunity built up as a result of having the infection. So if you've recently had COVID, if you've had COVID in the last 90 days, I would say, I actually got advice from the chief NASA, I shouldn't name him, probably get in trouble, flight doc about this, not directly, indirectly, but he said, sort of 60 to 90 days if you've been infected. So that's probably the right timing. So look, I think there's a ton of evidence that it's safe. And especially for older people, it's really providing good protection against bad outcomes. And so I say, get it. We're not going to, we haven't talked about requiring it. I think we're going to have to wait and see whether they start having some more Omicron specific shots and such. The jury's still out. You can ask. So if you're around a commencement, Rochelle Walensky is going to be here with us. I forgot to put that in there. The director of the CDC, you can ask her, see what she thinks. Thanks. Do you want to do an online one and then we'll do okay, go ahead.
Hi.
Hey.
Thank you for the additional time off this summer.
You're
It is
welcome.
very appreciated, especially after this year. With regards to the academic year, those break days each term, it seemed like they're geared more towards faculty and students. Will there be anything for staff?
I think it's a great conversation to be in, maybe at one of the forums about, are those break days the right break days for staff, or should we do something, perhaps, do staff end up working in support of students on those days? And so do we need to think about different types of break days for staff? I will say, as we do Be Well Together, it really is intended to be for everyone. So if we're not reaching staff, that's something we need to understand and know about. That's why I'm so excited about the forums, but also the staff council to help give us better, more regular input on and to be out talking with all the staff and bringing that back to be telling us like what what else could we be doing? What else would make a difference? We just haven't had a strong staff voice at WPI. And, it's in the strategic plan. It's something I'm committed to. Lauren and I were talking about it today. I would love to sign it into existence before I go. Like my parting shot will be, let's get the staff council up and going. So I'm excited to see that happen. And again, just really appreciative of all the work. Thanks. Sir, anything from you?
Yes, a question from online.
Oh, you have a mic and everything. Wow.
Is there any discussion about requiring a second booster shot for employees?
There is, at the moment, no, we haven't. No, we haven't. Again, it's recommended. It's not, I would recommend, especially if you're over 65 or if you're over 50 with comorbidities, that you go ahead and get it. And frankly, if I was over 50 and hadn't just had COVID, I'd be getting it now. So I think it's actually, I am over 50. Sorry. Damn, I am over 50. I am. Yeah. Highly recommended. I don't know that we're going to require it. Yeah. Any other questions in the room? Anything else from online?
A request that you resume your early COVID practice of blowing us a kiss goodbye.
Oh, all right. I will at the end. Let me remember. But is that Colleen that I see in the back of the room? Come up here. Go. You're like, yay. All right. Well, I'm happy to wrap it here. Remind you to go into the lobby, grab a refreshment, talk to our strategic plan teams, enjoy that. Please give them gratitude for doing this work during this really tough year. Again, thank you all for everything. I will see you before I go, but thank you.